Are you recording? There we go. So we'll just go ahead and open up for questions.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm going to put my view on differently so I can see. There we go. Okay. I don't like my face to be right in the middle. Well, welcome everyone. Gosh, it's been a while, and we're still not all together, which would be more fun. But I appreciate everybody jumping on from wherever you are, and just wanted an opportunity to really touch base. We hadn't connected in a while, so I thought I would share a little bit about, you know, kind of where we've been, what we're managing through as we've all managed through, and then kind of where we're headed. But obviously, it's been an interesting, an extraordinary year on everybody's part. I will have to say, you know, just a huge thank you to, you know, our chancellor, our board, our university leadership for all their support of Pitt Athletics and what we've been doing and how we've been managing through the pandemic. I will say the coaches and our staff have just done an unbelievable kind of heroic effort to get us through sports. But most importantly, really, it's, you know, really it always comes down to our student athletes and the effort, you know, what they have gone through, what they've experienced, what they've sacrificed, what they've managed through. And I probably have most empathy for them throughout this whole situation because, you know, us, it just kind of changed our work environment a little bit, but we didn't miss a freshman year or a senior year, whether you're a student or a student athlete. Some of these things you kind of can't recapture. But I will say that, you know, we made it through. We played a football season when I don't know that people felt that we could play a football season. We did it very safely, very successfully. We got through basketball. And really, we had some unbelievable success so far in our athletic department that I'm, you know, really proud of our coaches, our student athletes. I guess some highlights would be obviously our wrestling program finished 11th in the country. We had 2 finalists. Everybody who went to the NCAA finals is, you know, 5 guys that were there are all coming back next year, which is exciting. So really proud of that program and the trajectory of that, you know, Coach Gavin and where they're headed. I expect, you know, us to be right back there in the hunt for it next year. Women's volleyball obviously lost a heartbreaker in the 5th set to Washington in the Elite 8. But again, to see that program advance in the NCAA tournament, go to where they, you know, where they should be and get in that level of competition. They're right there in the hunt for it. And I expect them to be back next year. Again, really nice to have our, you know, a couple of the, you know, obviously Kayla and those guys to be able to come back and Chi to be able to come back, which is great. And them to be able to, you know, come back to Pitt next year will be a tremendous opportunity. Men's soccer, as you all know, right now we're in the Final Four, the College Cup. Super excited about the game Friday night, 8:30. Obviously, we've got Indiana, which is a very strong soccer program. So I'll be headed down there to carry North Carolina on Friday, which will be exciting, and have a chance to get into the national championship game on Monday night. So Coach Vidovich, just, you know, I think his leadership, his belief, his training, his reputation, the quality of coaching staff that he has, the quality of kids that he's recruited, and the amount of time that he's done it is extraordinary. You know, just a real professional in every sense of the word. He is, he's just one of our no question, one of our exceptional coaches. So I'm excited to see men's soccer in the College Cup Friday night. And then obviously baseball is having a heck of a year. So far, it's early in the season, but we're 16th in the country. And Coach Bell's done an unbelievable job with that program as well. You know, they're just playing with great confidence. They're playing, you know, to see some of the sweeps, some of the you know, breaking records, things that we haven't done before. We are putting a bid in to host the NCAA regionals, which obviously we have not done before. And so an opportunity to talk about hosting regionals in the NCAA tournament, which would be great. But we're second in the Coastal right now, obviously have a couple series of games left that are really important ahead of us. But we're excited about the trajectory of the program. I have said for a long time that success is contagious, and it really is. I've just seen it, I witnessed it, and now I witness it again here at Pitt. You know, women's volleyball won 3 ACC championships in a row with Coach Fisher. And, you know, I think the other coaches look at that and say, hey, you can win ACC championships here. And when you're winning ACC championships, we know you're in a hunt for a national championship. And that's the reality. That's the expectation. That's where we want these programs to go. You know, I think volleyball set the tone, which has now started to bleed over to a number of our programs. And it's just, I'm really proud of their effort, their work, their commitment, and their pride in Pitt. You know, the future is exciting. You know, we obviously have Victory Heights moving forward as a major facility project and vision. Thanks to our university leadership, our campus, for all of the efforts that they're doing up here on the Hill. We have a new recreation center coming in for campus. We have a chiller plant, which isn't that exciting, but it's an infrastructure piece that has to happen in order for us to build Victory Heights and the rec center. You know, I'm excited. We have great continuity with our staff, with our leadership team. We've got a new commissioner of the ACC, Jim Phillips, who was here in Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago to visit us for the first time. You know, I just think Pitt is in a great position. Obviously, we've got great expectations for our football program coming up this fall. You know, our coaches are allowed to go recruiting again, starting in June. So that's exciting to get back to a little bit more of a normal. And we hope to have fans here in the fall. So with that, I'll open it up and welcome any questions and thoughts.
Heather, I'd like to ask you about that bid you submitted for the baseball team to host a regional. The NCAA said they'll allow up to 50% capacity at host sites, but they'll allow schools to choose to go lower than that if they want. Have you guys thought about what level of capacity you'll allow, and if there are any extra tickets that are allowed, will they be opened up to the general public?
You know, I'm so happy you asked, Steve. To talk about baseball tickets is a great thing. We've all year we have followed obviously the guidance of our governor and our state, and then what is allowed on campus as well. So we will be at that 50% capacity. It doesn't allow for a ton of extra tickets, to be honest, given you have to look at the teams and all the different teams that will be here. They will be in the numbers, as well as the student athletes guest. So there's not a ton of availability for fans. But I think the opportunity to play at home, to play in Pittsburgh, is a great thing for our student athletes. And as many people as we're allowed to have in, we will have in, but we will be restricted to the guidance here in the state and on our campus.
Heather, hi, Chris Carr from DK Pittsburgh Sports. First of all, congratulations on your nomination. But I wanted to ask about just your thoughts or just your perception on what's happening in college basketball right now. Sorry if I missed you talk about this at the start. I got here just from Channel 11, but with the unprecedented number of transfers that are going around college basketball, how have you thought about how, you know, Jeff Capel's handled it and how, you know, Pitt is dealing with it and maybe changing the trajectory of how college basketball is working as a whole, just with, you know, this is an unprecedented situation that the sport is going through? Yeah,
no question that I think men's basketball is suffering, if you will. I don't know if that's too strong of a word, but, you know, dealing with the challenge of the transfer portal. Obviously, all of our sports, this rule has been in existence for a long time that you've been allowed to transfer. It's just new for football, basketball, men's ice hockey, and baseball. So we're managing it. It's tough. I mean, the numbers are high. It's hard on the coaches. I spent this last 2 days with ACC at our ACC spring meetings with all the men's basketball coaches of the ACC, and you know, they're not excited about kind of the state of men's basketball. The time that they get to spend with our student athletes, and this past year was harder than any other year, right? Because you know, I know Coach Capel, when he moved to Pittsburgh, he picked a home here in Shadyside just because he wanted to be able to have the team over to his house easy. and convenient for the student athletes. And, you know, we couldn't do that at all this year. So there's some relationships during COVID that were strained all across the country, and you weren't able to build those kind of relationships that you normally do. So I think it's going to be challenging. I think the culture that you think when things aren't perfect, when things don't go well, if you think something's not perfect, you can easily leave. You know, I'm not sure that that's teaching all the right things for young people, but they have the ability to transfer if they want. We wish them well. You know, I hope that they really think long and hard about the decision before you just make it. And that's what we're trying to counsel and advise and educate young people about.
Heather, you know, just to kind of build on that, you know, there's been a lot of turnover within girls men's basketball program as far as players transferring out. You know, obviously with Justin Champagnie going pro here early, I was curious what you make of sort of the state of that program now, and what your conversations with Jeff Capel have been like regarding everything going on.
Yeah, well, you know, I think Justin is a positive story. I mean, unfortunately, him leaving, you know, you never want kids to leave your program before they graduate, but that's the reality of men's basketball, right? So, and he's a tremendous story from the standpoint of his development, because I think when he walked in the door, I wouldn't have said he is ready for the NBA. I think it's a real testament to his work ethic, along with our coach's development of him, and his desire and aspirations that way. So that is going to happen. You know, I've got great confidence in Jeff Capel. You know, this type of transition, I don't know that we expected quite the volume. You know, the rule wasn't in place a year ago, right? So I don't know that we anticipated exactly that volume of transferring, but you know, we have 13 scholarships. I think we have 10 kids committed. We've got 3 to find, and they're recruiting after it. You know, I think our conversations, we have lots of conversations, but I will say one of the things that's been challenging, one of the best things about Pittsburgh and the city of Pittsburgh, I think, is coming here and visiting it, and not having the opportunity for recruits to come to Pittsburgh and see what Pitt is about, what the vibe of this city is, you know, how much the city cares and supports sports in all different ways. I think that's a real asset for us and a real selling point. And if you've never been to Pittsburgh, and, you know, some of the recruits you know, haven't been on planes, let alone been to Pittsburgh. So that opportunity being lost is challenging, but we're excited. We're going to be able to bring recruits here this summer. I know Coach is focused on, you know, it's allowed him to focus on the relationship more than the stuff that recruits get to see. And I think that's an asset that Jeff brings, which is his ability to build relationships with kids. So I'm confident we're going to get through this, and he and his staff are working hard at it.
Hi, Heather. Thanks for your time today. How are you?
Good, Jerry. Hi.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, you guys didn't have any fans at football games this year, you know, no fans at basketball games. What are the ramifications on the athletic department as a whole without that kind of revenue coming in, you know, for almost a whole year now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's, probably the first time in, I don't know, maybe 50, 100 years that every athletic department in the country, you know, didn't make revenue, right? Because no one could have fans, and it was tough on everybody. So, you know, I don't know that, I mean, I think we're right alongside all of our peers in the country with regards to the lost revenue. I think we're really fortunate to be at the University of Pittsburgh. Again, I think at the top of this conversation, I thank the Chancellor and the Board of Trustees specifically, because they value what athletics brings to this university. I think it's a part of the DNA of Pitt. You know, they supported us through this financial, you know, downturn, in the sense of, you know, we can't make revenue if we can't have fans come to our games. And yet they supported what we were able to do. And I think we were really good stewards of the resources that we were provided and, you know, needed to have in order to be able to compete at the level that we were. But obviously, we are hoping to be able to open up our stands and stadiums next year with fans, and have that opportunity to get back to where we're headed and grow our revenue.
Heather, going back to men's basketball just for a moment, outside of just this offseason or even the last season, when you look over the course of 3 years, what's your assessment of where the program is with what Jeff has done with it? How does it match up to your expectations you had maybe 3 years ago? And then what are your expectations for it heading into, year 4 now?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question he took over a tough situation. I mean, we were 0-18 in the ACC my first year here. But that's not to say it can't be done. We also had a women's soccer program that had never won an ACC game when Coach Waldron got here, and we had 11 wins this year. So it takes time. You got to build it the right way. Basketball is a challenging environment. College basketball, there's no question that we're going to do things right under Coach Capel's leadership. And so recruiting is going to be tough sometimes. And he's going to build it the right way. Sometimes those things take time. I think we've seen real positive strides. There's been a little bit of, team chemistry, team issues that we've had to manage through. You've got to grow from those. You got to learn from those situations. And there's no question. I think Jeff knows what that, needs to look like and feel like with his team. We're going to have, a new group of kids. I think we have 8 kids coming back next year. And that group is a great group that is committed to Pitt and is committed to the team concept. And so I think that that's a real positive for this program moving forward. We obviously won some games that early on that we were excited about. I think the trajectory was good. We had a little team chemistry issues, I think, that hurt. But there's no doubt that I'm confident that he can prepare this team. He can prepare our kids. He can develop our student athletes. And his whole staff can do that. I mean, they've got a great staff alongside him.
Heather, along the same lines with Pat Narduzzi, I mean, after the 2021 season, will be Pitt's second longest tenured football coach since the 60s. Already 6 years in. Where do you kind of feel that program is right now entering the 2021 season?
Yeah, I have great belief in continuity of staff and coaches if it's the right group. And, I'm confident in Coach Narduzzi's abilities to bring a great group of coaches together. Obviously, we lost 2 coaches. One, went on to be a coordinator, which is great for Rob Harley. But I think he recruited 2 tremendous coaches to the staff this coming year. 6 and 5, I think we lost a couple games we probably should not have lost last year. And I know, Coach, no one feels that more than Coach Narduzzi and his team. 6 guys go to the NFL, which was a top 10 draft class in the country. So no doubt, again, our coaches have taught them well. And I think tremendous kids as well as athletes, just great students to be around. I really enjoy being around that team. It's a great culture. I think that, we've got a tremendous schedule set up for the fall. Obviously, it speaks volumes. We have not had a lot of kids go into the transfer portal from our football program, which it does speak volumes to the culture and the relationships that those student athletes have with our coaches. Pat and I have had long conversations postseason, things that they need to work on. He knows my issues with what I think they need to work on, but he's the head football coach and he's going to address those issues head on. He's excited about the upcoming year. Obviously, Kenny Pickett coming back at quarterback is a real plus for the leadership, for his personality, for the expectations of this program. It's not just about Kenny Pickett, right? Kenny's got to have a team around him, and he will have that. And but I think we've got a great schedule set up. We have great expectations for that program, and I know our coaches do too.
Heather, you mentioned a minute ago chemistry issues with the basketball team. In conversations with Coach Capel, kind of things can you do or he do to make sure those things don't crop up again?
Well, I think one of the things that when we hired Coach Capel, I unbelievable pedigree, right? Unbelievable background, having won as a player at the highest level, having coached at the highest level, all of that is great. But I think the thing that I didn't realize that he was really good at is building relationships with student athletes. And he's better at that than all the rest of his strengths. I think he's very genuine. I think he tells them things that, they are his sons. He's a coach's kid. He grew up seeing the impact that his dad had on young people. And I think that that's how he sees his role, trying to mold these young people into the doing all the right things all the time. And so my expectation and what I think that Jeff will do in this upcoming year is build even better relationships with the team that he has. I don't think COVID helped. I don't think it's an excuse, but I think the reality of everybody sort of doing their own thing, not being able to get together, the world, this generation is a little bit focused on individuals with individual coaches and it's just not as much of a team environment as maybe when, generations ago. But I think that's a real focus for him in building that team mentality. I know he's excited about the core group of guys coming back and their belief in Pitt and in Pitt basketball.
Heather, when you say that winning is contagious, do you have coaches talk to each other? Like, is it just natural competitiveness amongst them? How would you describe how that kind of flows through the athletic department?
Well, formally our coaches do meet. We meet monthly. We have a big head coaches retreat next Tuesday, which we're kind of timing up. Maybe could be a really exciting thing. But we meet monthly and they have, we have programming, we have relationship building, they share ideas, they share concepts that they're working on, best recruiting ideas, how to manage through the transfer portal, how to deal with team chemistry, those sorts of things. But I will tell you, one of the best things that happened in COVID, because we couldn't all be together, right? The coaches have this this text chain, with all the head coaches on it. And the relationships built in an informal way on the support that they have for one another when somebody does something well, when somebody wins a huge game, when there's a big upset, when anything big has happened. It's been extraordinary just to see the support among the head coaches. I happen to be on that text chain, so I read it and I chime in every once in a while, but their support of one another in that informal but yet very meaningful way has been invaluable. There's no doubt it's contagious. Trust me, everybody it will go like wildfire tomorrow night before the Friday game for soccer. And when our team wins Friday night, it'll go wildfire again among those coaches, just because they know how hard it is. Everybody's trying to win, right? And so I think they have great respect for one another and for what they do. And I think that the relationships among the coaching staff is very real and genuine.
Heather, talk to us about your nomination for Athletic Director of the Year and having that nomination as a female, and there being two females actually nominated, what that means to you and what you have accomplished and what you want to accomplish.
Well, I'm very honored and humbled by it. Honestly, I think it might be a little premature for me personally. We haven't really won at that highest level, and but it's a real tribute. It's not about me. I don't play and I don't coach, right? We create the environment and we provide the resources and tools and structure and team around them. So it's really a testament to our coaches and our student athletes' performance. It's really about our staff. Because I'm not, running the strength conditioning programs. I'm not taping ankles every day. I'm not making sure their facility's perfect. I'm not checking on all the academics. And we've got a great team of people that makes our department successful. And so I'm honored. I'm obviously thrilled to be nominated with Carla, who I have profound respect for. at Virginia, and all the rest of the nominees. So it's just I hope it represents Pitt well, because I think this staff has worked really hard to try to build a program that everyone is proud of, does it the right way, and we're building it. It's not built at all, and so we're building it. We're in the process.
Heather, I know you mentioned earlier that you were, talking about getting fans back in the stands at Heinz Field for the football season. I didn't catch. Do you say like full capacity, or do you guys have any expectations right now?
Well, John, we're planning on full capacity. I mean, we don't know what, we have to go into it thinking full capacity. That's our expectation. That's our hope. But obviously, we are still in the middle of a pandemic. We respectfully understand that. We're really actively getting vaccinated, both all of our staff, our coaches, our student athletes. But the reality is we're going to have to manage with what the state of the country is in from a medical standpoint, and then obviously what the state of Pennsylvania is in our campus and in our county.
Heather, do you know what the percentage of the number of student athletes who've been vaccinated so far?
Gosh, Jerry, I think I want to say, I don't know if I want you to quote me on it, but like over half of our student athletes.
Heather, you had mentioned earlier that the football team, had a top 10 draft class, but they're still finishing middle of the pack in the ACC. And you'd mentioned there's some things you'd like to see change in the program. What are some of the things that you'd like to see change the trajectory of the program to start finishing towards the top of the ACC?
Well, I mean, there's not one thing, right, Dalton? It's, the coaches are responsible. I mean, they're the experts in this area. I don't get into the nuances of, what to play call and what can be done differently. I think some statistics jump out. I think that we had a couple situations in close games, whether it's a penalty here or a discipline call here, or, the penalties I think are, one of the things that Coach and I have talked about candidly. He knows that. And it's certainly something that, he is managing, and his whole staff is. I mean, it's not one person, it's not one student athlete that was the issue. But I just think philosophically that the level of, when it comes to some penalties that are discipline oriented, or, that those are things that you can eliminate. What can you eliminate and those sorts of things? But reality is this is, I'm confident in what, the expectations that coach has. And I really believe that's their area of expertise, and not for me to step in and judge or I should say manage coaching decisions.
Heather, as things relate to name, image, and likeness, I was curious for y'all as a department. Various programs have had partnerships and deals with Jeremy Darlow and Influencer. I was curious what more, if any, moves that there might be. And I was wondering for y'all as a department, what involvement, if any, you've had in any possible legislation here in Pennsylvania related to name, image, and likeness.
Right. Well, obviously it's a very important topic, and we know that name, image, and likeness is coming in some form or fashion. Obviously the state of, there's a number of states that have state laws that will take effect here this summer. So there's impetus for federal legislation. There's impetus for potential NCAA legislation. As a department, we have a name, image, and likeness task force. And so we've sort of decided as a department, okay, we don't know exactly what the rule or the legislation is going to look like, but let's prepare and let's plan, let's be ready to go once this legislation is passed in whatever format we sort of think it's going to take. So that group has really focused on education. How do we educate our student athletes about this topic? How do we make sure they understand what this really means? And that's something that we can do internally as an athletic department. We, meet with our student athletes all the time. So we'll talk about and educate them. We have policies that we've got to develop. How are we going to manage this situation? What are we going to allow them to do? What's going to be allowable based on the rules? And then there is an outside company focus We are interviewing a number of outside companies. We haven't made decisions yet on what we might do, but there are companies that focus on brand management for student athletes. I'm really focused on how is it actually going to help. I don't want to hire a company just to say we hired a company and everybody's hiring a company just for the sake of hiring a company. It's really about how can they really help student athletes in this space. And does that really make sense? Is it really worth the investment or worth their effort or energy? Because, I think people are sometimes, kind of a quick reaction. Hey, we got to have someone manage this for us. And I want to understand better really what they can do to manage it. We're all supportive of this type of legislation. I think the biggest challenge, again, is it focuses on your name, your image, and your likeness. And so it focuses on, for example, Craig's image, Craig's name, Craig's.
That wouldn't be very valuable.
Invaluable. I mean, the price tag, for this call just went up significantly, right? But, you have to, it's kind of counterintuitive to what the team is about, right? When you talk about a team, there's no I in team. There's no one person that's more important in a team. And we all know that all the phrases, every quote you've ever read about the team, it's not about one person. And so that's the only thing that name, image, and likeness sends a message to young people that they are individually, there's a value that's placed on me. And that's a little bit, I don't love that, I guess, philosophy or that mentality that comes out of name, image, and likeness. But, we'll manage through it. I think it's, it's coming, so we're going to be prepared, and our department is working hard in getting prepared for what could come and what is planning to be here in the fall.
Hey, Heather, I think one of the things you talk a lot about is comprehensive excellence. You run down the sort of list of teams that are playing really well right now or in this season. I think it was 2 years ago, 2019 spring, you finished last in the ACC in Directors Cup points. Is there something you can point to? Obviously each team has their own story, but is there something you can point to as an athletic department that has led this pretty drastic turnaround in 2 years?
Well, Alan, thanks for the question. No, I think what the thing that I would point to is a couple things. One is setting expectations. If you don't prepare for success and if you don't expect to be good, you can start the game down 10 points or down 2 touchdowns or down 5 runs or whatever the sport is. So I think you got to prepare and you got to expect success. And then it really starts with the people. I mean, we've said that, that's why we made some of the coaching changes we made. We bring in strong, talented coaches who have great confidence, great backgrounds, great experiences, having played or coached at the highest levels. Coach Bell knows what it's like to play in a World Series, right? Jay Vidovich knows what it's like to coach in a College Cup. Keith Gavin was a finalist, was the last NCAA champion here at Pitt. I mean, these Coach Capel has played at that highest level. Coach White has won ACC championships. So there's coaches that formula of playing or coaching and knowing what that success looks like and starting with the people is really important. So you got to have the expectation, you got to believe that you can do it. Then you got to hire the people that you can, and then you got to surround them with the right people. So having a strong strength and conditioning program and all the pieces that go into, creating the environment and the culture for success is important. Treating, expecting success across the board, not just in football and basketball, but across the board. And they do feed off of one another. Today I missed my filming, but every head coach filmed a good luck message to the soccer team. Every head coach took the time to do that. I mean, that just doesn't happen. I mean, that's intentional. That's support internally. That's the sort of things that happen behind the scenes that, people might not know that happens, but I'm telling you, that means a lot to that program. If you get a good luck message from every single head coach here at Pitt going into that game. So I think there's a lot that goes into it, but it's about being really intentional, expecting it, believing it internally before others are going to believe it. You got to believe it internally. You know, having the right team of people together doing it makes a big difference.
Do you have any kind of update on a timeline for Victory Heights? I know you announced last year that things have been disrupted by the pandemic. I didn't know if you had anything firm right now as far as an update there.
Yeah, absolutely. Super excited about Victory Heights. So that is a new arena. Well, I should say the first phase of Victory Heights is done. I don't know if many of you have been to the third floor completion of the Peterson Sports Complex, but we finished that part during the pandemic. It opened in December. We haven't had a grand opening or anything like that because of COVID, but that is the third floor completion and the complete renovation of the Peterson Sports Complex. Basically, that's offices for baseball, softball, men's soccer, women's soccer, and then we built women's lacrosse because we obviously added that sport. Renovated, you know, student athlete lounge, video rooms, enhanced nutrition, strength condition, or athletic training equipment. All of that space has been done. So that's the first phase that's done. The big phase, the next big phase that's coming is a new arena and sports performance complex. So we're in schematic design for that. That will break ground probably late next summer. Definitely next summer. I'm guessing, I'm pushing, obviously, you know me, I want it done, like I'll break ground next week. But sometime June, July, August, in that time frame next summer. And then it'll open, it's a 2-year construction project. So it'll open in the fall, ideally somewhere in the fall of 2024. And that's a new arena, 3,500 seat arena for wrestling, volleyball, and gymnastics. And then a sports performance area for 16 of our 19 teams. So strength conditioning, sports medicine, all the coaches' offices for those areas will be in that space. 85% of our student athletes will work out in that new facility.
Heather, the teams last year weren't in a bubble per se, but they were kind of kept separated and segregated from the campus. Are the plans for that going forward, even with vaccinations, or is there any talks about what you're planning to do with the student athletes next year?
Well, you know, we will, this year we have an ACC medical advisory group. And so that's a physician, a head medical person from every one of the 15 schools in the ACC. And that MAG, we call it the medical advisory group, really guided our decisions and how we managed our teams from practicing standpoint, travel standpoint, how they had to either, you know, like you said, be in a group or in a bubble. So we'll rely on what they tell us specifically as it relates to vaccinations. But we anticipate, I mean, we're hoping, I mean, I guess I'm being overly optimistic, but is there such a thing as herd immunity? Does that really happen? Are we able to go back to kind of being exactly how we are? We'll follow the guidance of the medical advisors, but you know, our student athletes did do a really good job of staying in a bubble. I'm not sure, I'm hoping that it can go back to a little bit more normal in integration, classes back to campus and that sort of thing in the fall.
You know, and
Yes, Craig.
Sorry, Jerry. You know, I appreciate you ceding the floor here. With men's soccer, Heather, obviously Jay was already in place as coach when you got there, but they were coming off of a 2-win season. It was really early in that process. What was the state of that program when you got there? And what sort of an impact or role have you and your staff tried to have in helping build it up?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, I think Jay took on this opportunity because he has unbelievable confidence in his ability. And, you know, he has a vision and he wanted to build, he wanted to take on a building project. I think the biggest thing that when we came here was how do we provide them the support, you know, the resources or tools or just, you know, the culture again of winning. When I mean, if you think back when we first got here, and I do tell this story, some of my staff don't like it when I tell this story, but when I asked everybody how many ACC championships had we won and where is the trophy, a lot of people didn't know on our campus, in our department. And I was like, okay, we won one, and it's a wrestling championship, and the trophy is located downstairs in the wrestling room, in the little room off of the wrestling room, on a little old coffee table next to a couch. That's where the ACC championship trophy was, the one that we earned. So, you know, what we did was created an environment where, like, it's a big deal when you win a championship. We're going to celebrate it. We're going to display it. We're going to, you know, create a sense that we expect more of these, you know, because where are we going to put the other championship trophy on the other end table? You know, so we want to create an environment. And so I think it's like believing, it's creating this culture that, you know, every team mattered. And, you know, I love Coach Vidovic. His office was in the field house. Obviously, during the pandemic, we got to move into the new building. And, you know, it was a very tiny window of his old office. We used to joke, he lived in Alcatraz. And now he lives in, you know, his view looks over the pitch of his soccer field. That's just extraordinary. And honestly, he said, you know, now I'm excited to recruit. I'm excited for parents to come. I'm proud of where I coach. I'm proud of where I, you know, work. And so it's a little bit of a demonstrated, visible commitment to success and excellence, you know. But, you know, working in a 1951 building, while as nostalgic as that is, it's just not, it doesn't scream excellence. And so that's where the facility projects will mirror and match our expectations and our coaches' expectations.
We'll take a couple more here. I know Jerry had one, and then John, do you want the last one?
Sure.
Heather, real quick, this is my question, but you said the summer of 22, you'll break ground with Victory Heights?
Yes. Yeah, probably late summer. I mean, right now it's scheduled for like August, but I'm obviously pushing for June.
My question, Heather, if you don't mind, I'd like to circle back to COVID. And I think things today, everything is COVID related. Can you quantify the revenue losses, you know, Pitt suffered because they could be directly tied to COVID?
We haven't closed our books yet. I don't know that I can quantify and give you an exact number, Jerry, but it was significant. I mean, it's significant, right? I mean, no revenue. I mean, we couldn't have fans all year long, and our revenue is pretty significant. So we lost all of that revenue. You know, there were savings because our coaches didn't go out recruiting. I mean, there's ways in which we save money too, but I mean, we also had to test. We tested everybody 3 times a week that were in bubbles. Tests are $100 a piece. So that number, I think we did, I should know the number of tests, the COVID tests that we did. It was significant. I mean, thousands of COVID tests. So EJ probably can get you that number if you really want it.
That'd be nice. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Heather, back to Victory Heights just really quick. You know, when that was announced back in, I guess it was January 2020, it was said that the project would be debt financed by the university. Is that still the plan, even after the pandemic?
Yeah, it was announced January 14th, 2020. Obviously, the pandemic hit. At that point, we had done, we've raised a little over north of $9 million towards the project at that time. Obviously, then the pandemic hit, and we really had to pause and respectfully, you know, pause on that project. It has just sort of been relaunched, not publicly informed, but internally, we are moving forward with the schematic design. So we are fundraising towards this project, but there is a certain amount of debt finance that we will take on as a university, as a department in this project and in this effort. But yeah, we're raising money. You all can contribute. We can have a special wing for the media, wherever you want that to be. But yeah, no, we're actively raising money towards this project, but it's moving forward and we're really excited about it. I think it's going to be it'll transform the hillside along with the new rec center, and it'll really transform things. So
if you don't mind me asking, how long was that pause? Was it pretty much for the last year? When did you guys reopen fundraising?
Yeah, John, it was, I mean, as soon as the pandemic hit, right? And then I want to say like late February, early March, we started to resume movement towards it. And, you know, I mean, we knew I mean, our chancellor, again, it's a real testament to him and his leadership and how he helped manage our campus through the pandemic. And then, you know, eventually we have to stand back up. We've got to get ready. We got to keep moving forward. And so it's kind of his visionary leadership that allowed us to pick this project up now. So we're ready. We're moving ahead, schematic design, and it's really exciting.
Anything final? All good?
Thank you all. It's a pleasure to see you all. Hopefully it's in person before too long. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Heather. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you all for joining us today. We will send out the recording of this to you all in your email shortly, and hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thanks, RJ.
You too.
Thanks.